I will be talking some of the important concepts which have made paradigm shift, which are likely to make paradigm shift in the management of inflammatory bowel diseases. I think all of us, most of the patients of ulcerative colitis, they either go to general practitioners, physicians, and gastroenterologists. The natural history of ulcerative colitis it dates back to 1930s, when the history says that more than 80% mortality was there when the patient was diagnosed as a case of ulcerative colitis. This mortality came down to less than 20% with a paradigm shift in the management in 1950s, when Truelove and Witts first devised that the steroids can be used in treatment of inflammatory bowel disease. Then after that, in 70s, we had sulfasalazine and mesalamine molecules, which made a shift. And for the last, I think, 2 or 3 decades, we did not have many of the drugs which could make a bang in the treatment of ulcerative colitis. Now, with better understanding of pathophysiology and molecular biology, lot of new things have come up, and now I think we are in next phase of making what is the next paradigm shift which is going to be there in the management of IBD. I will be just highlighting few of the important concepts which have come up which can make a shift. The first concept which has come in the management is the concept of mucosal healing. This is an interesting who had acute exacerbation of ulcerative colitis, who were treated by steroids and mesalamine, and at 6 weeks they all were asymptomatic. And this colonoscopy shows that, can we have a marker? The colonoscopy shows the different rates of inflammation in. From here, the concept of mucosal healing came, and the traditional concept which was there, which showed that if we assess the clinical response of the patient on the basis of symptoms, and the patient is asymptomatic, it was thought that there will be mucosal healing. That implies the activity inside the colon was thought to be normal, and the patient was normal. But what has been seen currently, that resolution of symptoms may not correlate with mucosal healing. The patient may be absolutely asymptomatic, but when we do colonoscopy, we can see there is inflammation there. And what is the implication of this inflammation which we see? Can mucosal healing be a predictor of relapse? We have very interesting study which shows that the patients who had ulcerative colitis, who were in remission, clinical remission at 6 weeks, and they had a colonoscopy done, and which showed that those who had only clinical remission, the relapse rate at 1 year was 80%, and those who had clinical as well as endoscopic remission, the relapse rate was only 23%, which was significantly lower and statistically significant. Can mucosal healing be a predictor of colectomy? This was seen that those patients who achieved mucosal healing at the end of therapy, rate over a period of time, well, let's say 5 years, that was much less. So the relative risk of colectomy in the patients who had clinical as well as endoscopic healing was to the tune of 0.22. We all know that ulcerative colitis is a pre-malignant condition. The longer the duration of disease is there, and the more extensive the disease is there, we all know that can lead to malignant changes. But later on, can endoscopic and histological inflammation be associated? We have enough data which says those patients who had endoscopic as well as histological, both endoscopic and histological improvement in the patient's condition that can lead to less chances of dysplasia and colorectal cancers. So the concept of mucosal healing is definitely going to help the patient. That means once we treat the patient at the end of therapy, instead of only clinical response, we should always document there is a mucosal healing which has happened in the patient. Is it possible to achieve mucosal healing? That is the next pertinent question with present pharmacotherapy. Yes, we can achieve mucosal healing in, not in all, but few of our patients by aminoglycosides, aminosalicylates, immunomodulators, and now we have new drugs, biologicals. Next issue is how to define mucosal healing. We have different scores, Truelove and Witts, modified Barron's, UCAIS, Mayo score, and these scores have been devised just to have a uniform presentation of our findings. This is the Mayo score, which is used most commonly in our clinical practice, in which the normal mucosa is score 0. Normal mucosa is score 0. What is happening? Just don't move it. I will move myself. Normal mucosa is score 0. 1 is mild inflammation when there is loss of vascular marking. Grade 2, this score is 2 when there is friability, and the score is 3 when there is spontaneous ooze. This is a very simple score, but in spite of that, can we, unless these changes of mucosal changes and the concept of mucosal changes can be implied in the patients, we cannot say that this has made any paradigm shift. Because this is very difficult to make. Why? Because we don't have good prospective randomized trials. Achievement of mucosal healing is not possible in many of our patients. And the patient compliance for the repeated procedure, once the patient comes, then if he says that I am fine, and if you tell them that you get a colonoscopy done at regular interval, they will not, may not agree for repeated procedure. It adds to the cost of the patient. And I think inter-observer variation is there in all, still there. We don't have any perfect score which can rule out the inter-observer variation. The next thing which has come up in the management of IBD is the drug delivery system. We all know the major drug which has been used in ulcerative colitis is 5-aminosalicylic acid. When this is taken orally, the disease lies mainly in large intestine. The drug reaches the large intestine, and the delivery system is such that most of the drug is utilized in the proximal bowel, and the exact site of delivery, the precise delivery at the site of action is not there, and there is problem of multiple dosing system. The patient has to take 6 to 8 tablets a day, which is not very, the patients are generally not compliant with the therapy. With the availability of newer system, MMX, multi-metric system, which has been designed, in which 5-FSC is there, which is designed in such a way that maximum concentration of 5-FSA reaches large intestine, and the tablet can be given once a day or maximum twice a day. What is this MMX system? This has a double matrix system. A lipophilic fraction is there inside, which is covered by hydrophilic fraction, and which is further covered by pH-dependent polymers. So when the person takes a pill, that polymer prevents its degradation in stomach and small intestine. When it reaches around pH of 7 near large intestine, the outer shell dissolves, and this matrix creates a viscous gel-like material. So the 5-HC is released slowly, and this viscous gets attached to the large intestine, and targeted drug therapy has been released. This is the photograph which shows MMX system. The 3 layers are there. One is a outer one, the second is a hydrophilic coat, and the third is lipophilic coat. This is a new technology which is available in USA and not in India. We have few of double pH-dependent technology, which is not exactly matching this. But I think this is a new area where we can get these drugs at affordable price in our country by getting this technique. Next, as I have already mentioned, the next thing which has come up, the pathophysiology of inflammatory bowel disease. We have learned that now we know the different inflammatory mediators, we know the inflammatory cascade and the final end products. So the next paradigm shift which is going to be there is by newer drugs which has come up, and by better understanding of pathophysiology. Molecular pathophysiology says that in a healthy person, pro and anti-inflammatory mediators, they remain in perfect balance. When the balance shows that the pro-inflammatory mediators, they increase in amount, then the inflammation occurs, which is the case in cases of inflammatory bowel disease. I will just mention in 2 lines what is the exact pathophysiology in inflammatory. It's a very complex subject, but what happens in inflammatory bowel disease, the bacterial dysbiosis is there. Abnormal bacteria, they are there in the lumen of large intestine. These abnormal bacteria, along with other antigens, they activate the lymphocytes inside the vessels, and these activated lymphocytes, they move on to large intestine and this wall of large intestine. From there, they stimulate the dendritic and macrophage cell, and ultimately inflammatory mediators like TNF-alpha, IL, interleukins 1, 2, 6, and 12, they are released, which leads to inflammation. So now we have drugs which act at different levels. We have antibiotics and probiotics which can act at luminal level. We have aminosalicylates which acts as a mucosal level. We have corticosteroids which acts as a dendritic level or inflammatory level, and we have immunomodulators which acts as a at macrophage level. And the latest what has made a paradigm shift, that we have now biological agents which can directly act on TNF-alpha interleukins. The management of ulcerative colitis, we all know it started with 5-ASA or sulfasalazine. When the patients, it's a pyramid, the base is made by 5-ASA, sulfasalazine, prednisolone is the next, and immunomodulator is the next, and biologicals, and followed by surgery, which is at the top of the pyramid. Is there any role of biologicals in management of ulcerative colitis? Yes. What are these biologicals? Basically, these are anti-TNF antibodies. They are of 3 types, chimeric, human, and human-like. And we have 2 antibodies available with us. One is a infliximab, the second is a adalimumab. We have almost 10 molecules coming up in line, but in India only 2 molecules are there. We have very good randomized trials which says that the mucosal healing, clinical remission, and colectomy rate all are better in patients who are started on infliximab. Adalimumab is another biological which has been used in India, and we have now trials on that, ULTRA trial, which is the landmark trial in biologicals, which shows that there is clinical response, mucosal healing response, and the clinical remission. All were better in the patients who were started on adalimumab. I will not go into the details. We have almost 15-20 another new drugs which have been in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trials. If they come, I think they are going to make a next paradigm shift in the management of IBD. Besides these biologicals, there are certain other molecules which have come up, which are coming up. That one is a curcumin, that is basically a active ingredient of Curcuma longa, which is a turmeric product, turmeric or haldi, which has been, we know the anti-inflammatory properties of turmeric from past in our Ayurveda. This has been documented. It has got anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, anti-proliferative, and anti-angiogenic effect. This has been studied. And we have now research going on this. I think Kedla people are working on this molecule. And this molecule prevents, we can now document how it helps in inflammatory bowel disease by preventing different steps in inflammatory cascade. And lastly, a new concept which has come up and which may make a paradigm shift later on is a fecal microbiota transplantation. This is on the basis that the bacterial dysbiosis is implicated in the pathogenesis of inflammatory bowel disease, and we have a review of around 17 studies in which it was seen the fecal matter from the healthy donors that was processed, and it was given as enemas, or it was instilled endoscopically or colonoscopically in the patients with inflammatory bowel disease, and the complete resolution of symptom was there in 76%, cessation of all medication, prolonged remission, and some of the patients who were not responding to previous therapy or refractory to previous therapy, that those patients, they responded to this. This is a new concept. Not many studies are there, and this concept has to pass the test of time to be recommended in further management cascade.